Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I see we have a Travis and a Michael joining us right on time, and we sincerely appreciate that. How's it going, guys? Good, good. Okay, we do like to start right on time. We know that we have more coming in, but they might just have to watch the video to get caught up on anything that they miss. I'm just going to do my marketing disclaimer. By being involved in this platform, you are authorizing permission for this to be videotaped and uploaded to our website and to use in our marketing materials. Additionally, no reproduction or use of this video may be made without prior written consent. Okay, now that that is out of the way, thank you guys for being here for our how to do business with HOA and COAs and the residents within those associations. My name is Diane Michael, otherwise known as Digital Di. I own Callan Group Communications. I began my business development and outreach career in 1999, and I started working with community association managers, CAMs, in 2014. So it's been about 10 years now. I started working for the Building Association Managers, which is a local group in Volusia, consisting of management companies, vendors, and CAMs. And I was able to not only work for BAM, but work for a number of the vendors that were members of that association. And I still work with a management group to this day. Through one of the vendors that I met there, I met this wonderful woman, Lindsay Lombardi.
Hi, so I'm Lindsay Lombardi. I own Coastal Living Association Management and work with Coastal Living Real Estate as well. I have been a real estate agent since 2013 and association manager since 2016. I've worked with properties directly through corporate management companies, family-owned management companies, and now through my own management company, and have extensive experience and contact with many associations in the Volusia County area.
One of the things I always say about Lindsay that I love so much is that she has really seen all the different vantage points of working in the association management industry. She's worked for corporate association management companies. She's worked for family-run companies, and she's worked as the manager on the property and now owns her own. So she's really worked in every corner. And now we teamed up because we saw the need for vendors to get their information in front of CAMs. And so my experience, since 99 with working in marketing and outreach, and her experience being a CAM and being the one that helps to select and work with those vendors, we thought that this program would be a huge success, and to date it has been. So we all know that business is more and more challenging every day. We know that good help is hard to find. That is why we also started this program, because many vendors, they're busy doing their own jobs and they don't have marketing teams that really understand what it takes to get into a CAM's inbox, how to get into a CAM's inbox, how to work with a CAM, how to follow up, and how to keep that consistent message of your business going to them. So good help is hard to find. People that know how to do this work, they're not out there looking for jobs. They're already employed. Demographics are constantly changing. Those board members are, some of them are unfortunately, they're passing away. It's the nature of the business. People are getting older. So where's that new bench? Where's the new board members? And where are the new CAMs that are working with those new board members? So that's something that we think about when we come up with topics to help support you for your webinar messaging. Technology is always such a support, but also sometimes such a headache for us. Not every vendor understands technology and the best efficient ways to use platforms that we will execute and we work in the webinar program. Things are becoming more expensive than ever. I have a management company that is one of our clients, and we host an annual conference for board members and vendors. We're doing it in April 2025. And our venue from this year to next year has tripled in the price it costs to host this event. So we understand that it's more expensive than ever to get your name in front of board members and CAMs. And we also see that there's competition in the market. This conference, that's a form of competition. There's going to be a lot of vendors there. The vendors have to pay to be there. So what are you as a vendor doing to get yourself in front of the CAMs? And how are you keeping a consistent message to the CAMs so that when anything happens, they think of you and your business first? And Lindsay, I'm going to ask you to kind of jump in here and just go over a day in the life of a CAM. I think we, all can relate, but why don't you give us a real picture of a day in the life of a CAM, maybe on a Monday?
So absolutely. Obviously, first, CAMs are very busy. You all are very busy. It's no different. I think everybody's very busy these days. But you come into the office, you're checking your emails, you're checking your voicemails, you're returning phone calls and emails. And that's usually where the day starts for me anyway. And then after that, most CAMs, especially portfolio CAMs that are managing multiple properties, usually hit the road and you're out going to your different associations and meeting with vendors potentially, but definitely doing your inspections, checking on the properties, and doing your normal day-to-day things. And then after hours of that, you're back in the office at the end of the day, again, catching up on emails that you've missed while you've been out, returning phone calls. So, very busy, constantly going. And that's why we feel like this webinar program is so important for marketing companies, because CAMs don't have a lot of time. So to be able to jump on a webinar for 30, 45 minutes and get information on a specific vendor that, we use vendors for everything. It's a really great way to be able to get your name out there and get to have that one-on-one contact with a CAM, that if you had to go out and about, and meet with them individually in person, it would take hours out of your week, which we all know you don't have, and they don't have. So this is a way for you to do it, to reach 10 CAMs or 15 CAMs in the amount of time that you would, take to meet one.
Lindsay always says that her vendors are her toolbox, that is really like her most beneficial attribute to her business, is being able to have that Rolodex of vendors that she trusts, that gets back to her in a timely manner, and that she can recommend to her boards, and that she can recommend to all the properties she manages. And so
that's 100% true. I mean, as a CAM, your number one, I guess, the best thing that you can tell your boards is that you have the person for the job when something comes up. So for us, it's very important, and it's very important that we have someone that we feel is an expert in their field, that is educated, and is going to be someone who, if we recommend to the board, you guys are going to make us look good. You're not going to make us look bad. And, the job's going to get done properly. And we can count on you to show up. So that's, really important for a CAM. And that's why building that tool bag of vendors, that are experts in their field and trustworthy, and that you have a relationship with, is so important.
And so this program, we have the CAM's contact information. We have their email addresses for the entire state of Florida. And so work smarter, not harder. The whole idea of this strategy is to get CAMs to be knowledgeable of who you are, what your services are, and recommend you. And so once you get that one CAM, if they have, what's the average property for a CAM that works for a management, or what's the average, Lindsay?
I mean, I would say for portfolio, you're plus or minus on 10 per person. I mean, some people can have as many as 15, but 10 is probably a pretty good average.
Yeah. So once you get your name in front of that CAM and they trust you and they're like, hey, they're doing education webinars every 6 weeks. I want to call them for a consultation, and then boom, you get the business. Then they roll you out. They always beta test you with one, and then they roll you out to the other properties. Obviously, they're not the decision makers, but the board of directors, we all know, relies heavily on the CAM to make the recommendation of vendors. So these webinars position you as an industry leader. It also gets you to talk to the CAMs year round. Our original program is only 3 webinars, but that doesn't mean we can't keep going. We want to keep going, and I'll go over all of the services of the webinar after we go through this. But I really feel that, and Lindsay, tell me what you're seeing in the market from a marketing perspective. And because I have all these vendors and management companies as clients, I'm on their list. So I get emails when there are webinars that insurance companies are doing, that roofing companies are doing, and they're one-offs. I feel like they're like sometimes they're politicians. Like during the political season, you hear from the politicians all the time, and you get the postcards and you get the emails, and then where are they after the election day? Where are these roofing companies after the storms move on? Being consistent with your message shows that you care about educating the CAMs. It shows that you want to have a relationship with them. And so these one-offs are always great. I always promote any form of education and marketing and outreach. But if you only do 1 or 2 a year, you may miss the opportunity to become that CAM's go-to person.
For sure. I think it's a good point to make, Diane, because you will, as a all these marketing emails that come through and newsletters, and you'll get one here and there for a webinar or, a promotion that they're doing, and then you don't hear from them again. And as a CAM, there's so many that come through. So if you're doing a one-off webinar and you send out the newsletter, you might get the CAM to sign up, and you're a painting company. And that's great. And now 6 months from now, I need to get someone to come out and give me quotes on a job at one of my properties. But I've gotten other, I've done other webinars or gotten other marketing material from other painting companies or insurance companies in the meantime. So now that's the person that's on my mind when I'm going to call on someone. So it is important, to keep your name out there, even if it's not through a webinar, through some type of marketing, so that you spent that time, you did those 3 webinars with us, and you got your name out there and you got to know these CAMs. Make sure they remember you. So you have to do something, you have to be consistent with the marketing. You can't just do it for 2 months or 3 months and then not do it again for a year, because now you're basically starting over at that point because somebody else has jumped in there and taken your spot.
One of our other clients that we're promoting, right? No,
Exactly.
just kidding. But and then where does it go after the webinar? And that's part of our service as well. We help with the sales pipeline and the follow-up. So today, we had 11 registrants. I don't know how many attendees are on here right now, but I'm going to send the video to my entire list. And I'm going to ask everyone to share that video with the people that they think may be interested in my content, in our content. So that we would do the same thing for your business. For those that, CAMs may have they have their days where they wake up, they go to work, and then the elevator flooded or it's not working. And so they signed up for your webinar, but they can't make it. So we go the extra step and we send the video to everyone after the webinar. We add it to the YouTube channel. We add it to your social platforms so that we continue to communicate and develop that relationship digitally. So this is our program. I'm just going to run through it and then we can answer some questions if you have any. But we basically handle the entire program for the vendor. We meet with you on a Zoom for about 45 minutes, and we learn about what your story is. What is your message? What value add do you bring to the CAMs and to the homeowners? We also will look at what counties you are targeting, because our database that we rent out during the program for your use, we have the CAM email addresses for the entire state of Florida. So many vendors are working in multiple counties. So we find out where the target audience needs to be. We create the flyer. And as you can see on here, this is one of our clients, Expert Reserve Services. We send you two options of the flyer. Of course, your green lighting, everything that we're putting out. After we come up with the topic and the bullet points, we create the flyer. We create the Zoom date and information, and we even create the social media posts. We create the PowerPoint. We basically do everything because we know that you're in the field doing your job and that you don't have time and most often experience to do this. We worked with a company locally the other day who is signing up for the program. And, you know, an hour into the meeting, they couldn't figure out how to make us admin on Facebook. So we understand that technology is challenging, and that's why we really come in and take over and help the whole program through, guiding you along the way with your direction, but we're doing the execution of all of the different platforms and all of the different assets. And then 6 weeks later, we do another one. So this program is a 3-month program, 4-month program. We do 3 webinars at 1 webinar every 6 weeks. And all of this is $950 a month. So we handle everything from concept and topic to follow up and plugging all over social media and on YouTube to help support you and your team. We create the newsletters. I'm sure you all got here today because you got our newsletter, and you see how many times we sent the newsletter out and then the reminder this morning. And to some that might be frustrating, but to CAMs, they need that extra. And Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, but they get so many emails and their mind's constantly going and they're putting out fires left and right. So to have a reminder and then also your name is in their inbox. So it's top of mind awareness and they see that name and they're like, oh, okay. They're following up with me. So we have a proven system that we're very proud of that offers a professional webinar where we become your hosts. The day of the webinar, we meet with you 45 minutes before the webinar begins. We make sure that you have a professional background. We go through the slides with you. We help to ask any questions from a CAM perspective or any areas of opportunity that we feel that may be missed, but we walk through that with you. And then the day of the webinar, we kick it off for you. So we essentially become an extension of your team. We're the hosts. We monitor the questions and facilitate all of the registrations. We're very proud of this program, and it has seen great results to date. And we'd love to answer any questions for you, unless, Lindsay, you have anything more to add.
I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Okay. Amy, I'm gonna unmute you guys. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer. Okay, well, if there's not any questions, that was 20 minutes. We appreciate you guys taking some time with us today. And we will be sending this out. You have our contact information right there. If you have a question?
Yeah, I do have one question.
Yes.
So when you're communicating out to these people, you keep talking about this webinar. So I'm not exactly sure how you're using that webinar. Is this something that we're doing to the CAMs? I mean, who is the webinar with?
To the CAMs, yes, exactly. So we have the database of all the CAMs in the state of Florida. So that is typically who vendors want to get in front of, other than board members. Board members, it's harder to get their email addresses. So we go after the CAMs because the idea of the program is to, Go ahead.
I don't know if I don't know as though what we do would be a good fit. I don't know if you'd be able to find enough people. Let me explain what we do and then you can
Sure.
tell me what you think.
Sure.
I'm having an invention, and what it is, it's for where you have fountains, and then the fountain gets clogged up with mud and everything because as the ponds get
Right.
older, they fill up and they get too shallow for the fountain. So my invention
Mhm.
is basically it's a tub that you dig a hole in the muck, and then you put the fountain inside of it. So the only water that goes through the fountain at that point is the clean water from on top, and it doesn't suck any of the mud and muck and stones that ruin the pump and make the pump not last as long.
Mhm.
So that's basically what it is and how it works. And I do have a subcontractor that can install them for people if they need it, or they can have their own pond person do it, and we can just
Mhm.
ship them the tub. But I don't know. I don't know if they'd be fit for you or not.
I think so. Lindsay, right? Fountains are an issue for communities.
Yeah,
Big
so I
issue.
live in Water's Edge in Port Orange, and I'll use that as an example. So we have, gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many retention ponds there are in here, because as we know, every time they build these developments, they have to put 1 million of them in so that there's somewhere for all that water to go. And pretty much everyone has a fountain in it. And we, in this neighborhood, I couldn't tell you, I mean, there's always one that's pending to be replaced because probably of exactly what your invention prevents. So I think not for condo associations, but for the HOAs, it's probably it would be a big sell, because every neighborhood in anywhere in Volusia County has at least, the smallest of neighborhoods have at least one pond generally. So I
Yeah.
mean, in my neighborhood, I would say there's probably 15 to 20 alone. It could be more. So I mean, yeah, if you could get, as they start replacing the fountains or do whatever, if you could, I mean, the whole thing is education, right? So if we educate CAMs that this is something that's out there, that's available, then it's something that they can, when it comes up at a meeting, which in my neighborhood, it comes up every month at the meeting, because there's always an issue with one of the fountains, and they can say, well, this is something that causes the motors to go bad, and we're having to replace them all the time, and this contributes, and this is something that I learned about, and this is this person, and we can have them come and look at it, and then they can, essentially, like I would say in my neighborhood, for example, they probably look at it and say, okay, well, and I have no idea what your product costs, but if it's something they can't afford to do all at once, you could say, okay, well, we're going to do, you know, 5 every 6 months or whatever it might be. So they can, but again, the CAM has to know about it to even be able to recommend it.
And then help me understand, Mr.
Yeah.
Bono.
And I mean,
So,
and we actually, we service Water's Edge. That's not a problem at all.
Okay.
and then do you do just small fountains that are like in the entranceway?
No, we do all fountains.
Yeah, so condominiums as well would
Oh,
be
yeah.
really good, because you've got to, that's always, we do a lot of business in the pool industry, and a lot of the pool people, contractors, pools, they do not want to touch fountains. They hate them because they're always breaking, and then the board is complaining that it's them not doing something right. So yes, certainly you
Well,
have
it probably, well, it's got to be a pond fountain because it has to be where it's got a muddy bottom. If it's
Oh,
a
okay,
pool
okay, I'm
fountain,
sorry, so I
yeah.
misunderstood.
But like down there in Water's Edge, those are pond fountains. Those are the kind that we serve. And like we've got 2 of them we just sold a couple nights ago to HOA up in Ormond Beach, and they get clogged up, and they don't work. They throws a breaker, then it gets working in a few days. So our guy went out there and he checked. And he goes, "It's only 3 foot deep. No wonder they're not working." Well, my tub is 4 foot deep. So he takes his dredge out there. He drains it down a couple feet. He puts the tub is like 4 foot around across and 4 foot deep. He puts that in there, and now it's going to make the pump last a lot longer. It's going to run constantly instead of the CAM's getting a phone call every week.
Right.
Exactly, and that's what they don't want. And so, like, for
Once
your
a
three
week that
topics,
their pump's
like,
not working.
yeah, for like your 3 webinar topics, I think the first one would be an introduction to the service, where it's like solving the pond fountain headaches, where you just give a few tips and then a couple case studies. So we would, there would be pictures of, the ponds that you've done. You could talk about the different communities that you've worked with in the area. And then the second one would be, the maintenance of it. So the first could be, overall service, case study, focus on, some of the ones that you've done so that you can use some names and pictures of local use. And then the second one would be maintenance, like, okay, after you work with us, or if you currently have one, this is how to prevent from calling us. And then the third one, we would figure out as we go based on the CAM questions, because that's another thing that takes place during these webinars. The CAMs start asking questions that other CAMs might not even be thinking about. And then that helps us come up with the curriculum for future webinar topics.
Mhm.
Does that make
Okay,
sense?
well, yeah, I will talk it over with my partner. It's something to think about. We're just getting our business started, so we're looking for every avenue we can. It's a new invention, it's patented. So, it's kind of hard to, people don't know about it. They don't know what it is. They don't, because it's new, they don't know what it is. But I mean, it costs $3,100 and it's maintenance free. It lasts for 300 years. I mean, so there's, the longevity of everything.
Oh, I think it's a home run. I think it's a home run. Working with the management company that we do, I know that I help them with outreach. And so we go and meet with these board members on a regular basis that are looking for new management. And so many of them, that's always a topic, is that, the fountain in the pond is not working. It's never working. We can't find someone to help us get it working. So and that's another thing, when you get one CAM in a management company office or a corporate office, if you get one CAM in the office to learn about your services, what they do, they put out they'll put out an email. Hey, does anyone in the office have a contact for someone who does this? And that one CAM that went to your webinar will reply to all, which usually is 30 to 50 CAMs, and they'll put your contact information to all those people.
Yep.
So now your price is like $900 a month, right?
For 4 months, because it's every 6 weeks. But if your content doesn't allow for, well, see, here's the thing. For you, you're a little different. And Lindsay, let me know if you're thinking anything different. Because yours is more specific and focused and niche, I would recommend, and Lindsay, again, correct me if I'm wrong, to do the same program every time, because you're not going to get you could have a CAM sign up and then boom, they have to go take care of a crisis. So then having the next, you have the video there, that's fine. But just doing the same content each time, we're still going to be putting it out to all of the CAMs in the database. So people that may not have been able to attend on this particular Tuesday, we found out yesterday from a provider that a corporate office locally, their CAMs are always out in the field on Tuesdays. So webinars on Tuesdays are not good for that particular management company. So, we kind of mix it around. So we would do a webinar for you at lunchtime. The next one we would do around 9:30. The next one we may be doing at 4:30, so that we're giving opportunities to all of the people to learn your message. But since you have such a niche, we would probably do the same one over and over again, unless there was content to do a different style or more topics.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think because yours is more educating the CAMs that this is a new thing that exists.
Mhm.
And explaining like you did all the benefits. So, if your motor gets clogged, it's overworking until it finally is clogged enough that it shuts itself off. And then you have to wait for them to come out and repair it. And then it needs a part that it's on back order and all these different things. Whereas if you, we all know every time the pond maintenance company comes out, it's, $250, $500 for them to even just come look at it. So right off the bat, if you can save yourself, 3 trips a year of coming in and looking at this pond, your $3,100 investment in this invention that you've created is gonna pay for itself after a couple of years. So I think that's the message that you're looking to get out there. And the other message from a CAM that I take is the headache of me getting 8 owners who live on this pond calling me in a 24-hour period to let me know that the damn fountain and the light wasn't on last night when they were sitting having their glass of wine on their porch. And why isn't this working? We pay so that we have this fountain. I mean, that's what happens, I mean, and on the Facebook page, Water's Edge is the worst. Anyone know what's going on with this fountain? Why can't they get this fountain? It's been out for 6 weeks, whatever. So it's a constant thing. And if I can recommend something that's gonna get that hassle off my back and I don't have to worry about that, you better believe that I'm going to promote this to my properties that have this as an ongoing issue, because as soon as I can solve the problem from happening, now saved me hours a month that I don't have to deal with that particular issue.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a good product to get out to the I mean, it's a no-brainer. This program would catapult to all of the CAMs and management companies.
And with what you do, you could really you can market to the whole state.
Yeah. And you can even, even if they're just getting the message from the newsletter and they don't end up going to the webinar, they're still getting your contact information from the flyer in their inbox and learning about all of the topics that we put on that flyer. So yeah, this is the way to get in. This is the most affordable way to get in front of the CAMs, and in the most efficient way.
And you're going to kick off your social media also, because for every webinar, we do 15 social media posts that have content and imagery. So your logo will be out there, the registration link, and that's 15 times for each webinar. You get 15 posts minimum that we put out there. So that's getting, again, your company is going to pop up on their news feed, those 45 times between the 3 webinars during that 4-month period. So that kind of gets you out there also. So it's not just the webinar, it's everything that we do to promote the webinar is also marketing for you for every, in every other avenue.
Michael, I can send you our agreement. I can email it to you so you can look at the program. It's very clear. It just goes down what we do with suggestions. So you can take that to your partner to see if you have questions and want to set up another time to discuss. But we believe that this would be a home run.
He was on here. He's off now. Taz, that was Taz in it. But anyways, here's the fact that we only need to do one, and then we'll just repeat it. Would that give us any discount price?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah,
right?
we can work with you on something for that if we do that.
We would want to make it fresh, but yeah, there would be it's a good point. There would be less time involvement in the topics, in the PowerPoint, yes. Lindsay and I will talk about what that would look like, but certainly, yes.
Okay.
We'll get something over to you.
We can do whatever, like if we want to do 2 counties, 3 counties, whatever you want to do, that doesn't matter. You can just do whatever. And
yeah, we go through a flow desk. We go through, there's a program that we have to have you sign up for. It's free for 30 days. And then it's a newsletter platform. That's how the message gets sent out, because it's mass emails, and it has no cap. And Flowdesk is who we exclusively use because they don't charge based on how many email addresses. It's just a flat fee for the year. And for the first year, it's $200 for 13 months. The second year, it goes to $400 annually, but for newsletters and you keeping in touch with the CAMs, just to keep your mind, or to keep your name in front of their minds, is, nothing.
And that's yours for the year. So even if you only do the 4 months with us, you still have it and the ability to send newsletters out after.
Yeah, and I'll email you all of this, but yeah, let's
So
talk to your
here's,
partner and
here's what our scope is. So what we've got to do is we've got to figure out our finances. Here's what we did. We went with a website designer that's very expensive.